Broadcasting from Hollywood, California, it's Grant's Rants, Hollywood Talk.
World Pride kicks off in New York while Pump Rules Jax and Brittany get married in Kentucky. But is it a mistake? We judge the New York City Housewives 11th season, and LuAnn is writing another book. Later, we're analyzing The Hills, that and a bit of RHOBH with Amanda Szot. Let the ranting begin. I am sitting across from Amanda Szot, a creative producer and an alumni of Grant's Rants. Welcome back.
What's up, Grant? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you in the studio and to talk to you in person.
Studio G.
Yes. It's been a minute that we've seen one another, but we're still in touch on the gram.
Oh, I know. It's been a long time since I've been here, but I'm glad I'm back. So.
Yes, thank you for coming. And, it's time to kind of catch up on a few things. Mm-hmm. We're in the middle of the summer, so the stories are a little slow. I'm trying to find more fun things to talk about.
What can we pull?
Yeah, so I scour the internet as I do. I take recommendations, and a big story and something that's happening right now as we record this podcast is this World Pride in New York, and it's. What can I say? It's what do I have here? It's a historic festival which celebrates the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall riots this year, and it's kicked off this last week. Really big deal. I think this is the first time that World Pride has been held in the United States.
Right. I love it. I'm just jealous it's not in Los Angeles because there's a big Bravo float and all the performances. It's so cool. I wish I was there.
Yeah, it's going to be like the who's who of Bravo celebrities. I know that LuAnn Locken will have her own as well. So.
She's part of the float along with the many other, personalities.
Yes,
but
she's got the wave down because she's a paggent girl, so it all works.
Now, what about Madonna's performance? Are we wanting Madonna or?
Well, that's the thing about Madonna. You can want her, you can't. You're going to get her anyway.
You're going to get her anyway. I guess she's just going to.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an icon, obviously, so why not?
Because I look at her and I'm like, I hope that Britney has this long career and there's so many albums as Madonna does. I mean, I know there are very different circumstances. But for me, and this is an unpopular opinion, but I'm not really a Madonna fan, so I'm okay missing out.
Yeah, I mean, Britney, I think, is more our generation.
That's it.
And so I just also think, though, if Britney wants to maintain the Madonna, stature, she needs to get a little more out there, I think. Of course, she had her show, and now I'm digressing. I'm so sorry, but I think she needs to stay in track with the Madonna, albums and just getting out there a little bit more. But
a large part of it, and people who are really stans of Britney will know it's her team. I think her team is the problem, and that they have to do some work. And I know that there's questions about her mental capacity and all that, but I mean, the girl's done 4 world tours and under her conservatorship, or 3. Who's counting? Well, speaking of Britney, there are as page 6 referred to them as queer performers or queer friendly. Some of these people, I don't know. Cyndi Lauper, Chaka Khan, Ciara, didn't know she was considered a gay icon yet. Whoopi Goldberg is going to be the master of ceremonies.
That's cool.
And then there are a few others. Melissa Etheridge, of course, making an appearance. Margaret Cho. And then Alicia Keys still singing Empire State of Mind.
I mean, 17 years later. I mean, listen, could you imagine Britney not singing Oops, I Did It Again? I mean, it's just what she's known for, right?
Yes,
So
a greatest hit. You got to have it. No, I agree.
It's really cool. It seems it's an interesting mix of performances, like Chaka Khan. Okay.
I think the schedule was open and available for this event.
And her schedule was probably open for this event as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Who would you want? What would be your who would you want to see at World?
I'm not a huge concert goer. I like Demi Lovato. I like Selena Gomez and of course Britney. It's kind of comes and goes with, who I'm really into. There was a time I really was into Lana Del Rey.
Hello, I love LDR.
Yeah, so that would be appropriate, I think. And I think
is she a gay icon?
I think she has a large gay fan base. I was introduced to her through all my gay friends, so that's just part of it, I guess. I don't know. How about you? Anyone real stand out?
I mean, not this lineup. Melissa Etheridge, I understand that. She's fab.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Gaga. I mean, I guess she did a performance, right? Or
she spoke.
She didn't. Yeah, she didn't do a performance, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised she wasn't headlining the whole thing. Instead, like the Grand Marshal of the parade is Andy Cohen, which like
that makes sense.
But some could say like, a little overexposed. Like I'm a little like, okay, now.
Right. What about LuAnn de Lesseps? Should she perform?
Why not?
Why not?
I mean, again, someone with the schedule open, I mean, I think she'll take it. I'm just going to keep her away from the booze, and I think she should do it.
She should have a cabaret.
Oh, God. We're going to get there. I have to try. I have a lot of thoughts, so stay with us. We are talking about New York. And I have a lot of thoughts around that one specifically. But yeah, Gaga did make a surprise appearance. She identifies as bisexual. She's a huge supporter of the gay community, always has been. Like, that's someone that I can look at and say, like, I can say for sure she's a supporter because she has been always. And like, her records across the board show that. So, she said that, the LGBT community is the definition of courage, which is, she had some really powerful words.
Yeah.
It's very smart of her to say that. And, they're expecting 4.5 million people at this parade.
Insane. Now,
I can't wrap my mind around
where's
that.
the location? Is this like... Where in the city?
I think it's like Midtown and goes south.
Oh my gosh, that's
downtown?
epic. I hate using that word because that's like such a bro word,
know.
but it is. It's epic. That's insane.
I mean, they of course, like I looked at some of the reports about like security and like they're obviously like having people out in plain clothes who are going to be like monitoring this. But I mean, it's a lot of people to monitor. And then they said we highly recommend that everyone uses public transportation. And anyone from New York knows like you can't rely on the subways. And you're adding another couple million people to the city. It's going to be a mess.
I hope there's like scooters and birds and all of those, alternate public transportations because they're going to need it.
I can't say that I'm like missing out. I don't enjoy going to Pride festivals because it is such a huge crowd of people. I do obviously support exactly what they stand for, and I think it's more necessary than ever to have these. I mean, I put on Facebook, there's a sheriff/pastor in the South who called for the execution of gays. And I was like, this is why this is still important.
I know.
Because there are still people in power who are making these statements, and there are young LGBT folks who, whose parents look up to these people and they follow these instructions. And, this is why there isn't a straight pride. And this is why we're having these things to counteract statements and people like that. So I definitely see the importance of it. To me, my experience going to prides, and I've been to a couple, Seattle, LA, whatever, walked in some of the parades with NBC, which was cool.
Yeah, right.
But to me, it's very commercial, and it's also like very alcohol driven.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like it kind of, in my experience, isn't necessarily as much of a movement as it should be. Now, this World Pride could be different. It seems that the tone is different. So, I'm all for it. Just for me personally, I don't know if I would want to be in the hot city dealing with crowds of drunks.
I know. Yeah, I've gone to, of course, the West Hollywood Pride multiple times. And it's like, all I do is like hang out. We drink a bunch of alcohol at the Abbey, but it's a fun celebration. Obviously,
it's a party.
We're all there for the same reason.
Yep.
We're about equality, and but it's a party.
Yeah.
So
mixed energy in the next topic. Okay. Jax and Brittany wedding.
Oh, I can't wait.
So here we are. Now, I've finished Vanderpump Rules. I'm a little like kind of in and out of it. We'll talk about it in a moment. But Lisa Vanderpump is in attendance after her mother unexpectedly passed away a week before the wedding.
Right.
So, that's tough on anybody, and I can understand that. And I actually will give her some credit. And, she attended. And, I'm happy. I don't mean that in a shady way. I mean, I'm very anti-LVP, but like, I was, hey, I gave her some credit.
Yeah,
she
good job.
Flew to Kentucky, and she's going to be there for the wedding.
On a private jet, of course, with Rand.
Was that it?
I'm an LVP stan, so we might have to go head to head right now.
It's okay. It's fine. I love the difference of opinion. I'm kidding.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so I mean, she's on there. She's going to be there. They've posted some photos. She's currently still planning her mother's funeral, so that's like, it must be a whirlwind to have to go like all over and then deal with the different country with all of that. But another thing I noticed, I read, was that Stassi's mother is at this wedding, and she's there to celebrate her own birthday. Now,
I didn't hear this.
Yeah, I don't think that's very appropriate. Because her daughter isn't the one that's getting married.
No.
Why is she staying at that castle and like celebrating her birthday with this big wedding?
Is her birthday on the same day?
I think it's the weekend or something like
so
that.
this is interesting, actually, because I'm actually getting married in less than a month. And I'm getting married on a Saturday. My mom's birthday is the next day.
Okay.
And it's not like our wedding's very low key. It's not like this big shebang, obviously, like Jax and Brittany, of course. But we will go to brunch the next day. We're saving a bunch of the cake so we can like share it with my mom and celebrate her as well.
Nice.
But I wouldn't suggest that my mom is making this about her, though, either, you know? But I could see Stassi's mom doing that. We've seen her on the show, and she seems like she was potentially a monster in previous seasons.
Yeah,
so,
she's not like demure or like quiet. It's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, also, it's like a friend, I guess a bridesmaid's mom is celebrating her birthday the week of your wedding. Like, that's just not the right, like, why is the mom there is my question.
That's interesting, exactly. If I wonder what the guest count is, because it has to be at least 300, if not more. They seem to be inviting everyone.
Everybody, it seems like, I mean, they're having it this Kentucky castle, and another article said that it was originally half built by a couple, and then they stopped building it because they got a divorce, and then it was like rebuilt and then re-renovated, and like they said there's just like bad energy around it, but like, I don't know, I'm not gonna put that on these two, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
But
I think it
looks cool, actually. Like, the venue looks cool. You know, they applied, maybe you can help me explain this. So they applied for a wedding license and they flaunted a picture of the certificate. So does that mean that they are now married? No. So what I literally just applied. So I feel like I've been kind of on the same page because we got not engaged around the same time, but I feel like she is my wedding sister in a way because like everything she's been doing, I've just been doing like a couple months later. So we just applied for our marriage license, and you do it online and you get all the paperwork, and then you have to go to the courthouse and actually pay for it and then like apply. It's not like you're guaranteed that you might get one, even though everyone does. So anyway, so then you get your marriage license and it's like an actual form. So then when you get married, your officiant will sign that with a witness, and then you're legally married. Then you have to take it back to the courthouse and file it. Got it.
So it's in like all of the records and everything.
Right,
so no, they are not married, but it's just a fun thing to do. Like, we're going to the Beverly Hills courthouse in a couple days, and we're going to go get some, you know, pasta and some champagne afterward. We're making it a thing.
Of course.
It's cute.
Yeah. I get that. Okay. Good to know. And now I'm learning something as usual
You're
on
welcome.
this podcast. Thank you. You know, do you think this wedding was a mistake or what?
I don't know. Vanderpump Rules is the best show on television. I've told you this. You know this. I don't know because in one way I don't agree with Brittany potentially staying with Jax, but then knowing I feel like he has changed, I don't know if that's just for television. I don't think it is. I mean, I've seen every episode, of course. I think it's cute. I think she's really helping him to be a better person, and that's what you're supposed to do in relationships. Like, you help each other be the best you can be the best versions of yourself. Right. So I genuinely wish them all the best. I'm so excited to hear everything. One of my friends is working. He's like in town right now, so I am like desperate to get all of the information as it comes real time.
I think it's inevitable that they're going to get married. I think it makes sense for them, and we'll see what happens in the future. I mean,
I think they're going to pop out a couple babies. I think they'll be fine. They have a really strong, you know, friendship group that'll keep them all together. And I like can't wait for this next season. They've all moved into houses. Yeah. I can't wait to see what happens.
I think my biggest problem with the show is just like the relatability of it all. I mean, we're dealing with this, just following the stories, which I watched all the cast stories over like the last 24 hours. And, you know, it's just kind of hard to relate when like everything with this wedding is sponsored. I feel like, you know, it's rightfully so. These brands can attach themselves. They're in all of the cast's social media. Yeah. And then 6 months down the road, then they're on Bravo. They're featured on the show.
Right.
So what did they have? They had a Taco Bell truck, some pampering company, limo services, and then Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh my God. I can't.
So, you know, and it's like all very apparent, like, you know, a boomerang of Brittany opening and closing the Dunkin' Donuts box.
When does she have time is what I want to know, because I couldn't imagine like the day before my wedding, like doing sponsored posts. I would love to do that to get, you know, half of the wedding paid for, but I just don't know how she has that much time in the day.
I know she must have someone following her around. Like
she has to have assistants, I'm assuming, right?
I would hope so, because I don't know how you would want to be bothered. But like, so to me, it's like, you know, like these people are like the definition of privilege, right? You know, so it's like a little hard for me to like see myself in them and identify with them because, you know, they've got a production company right on hand. They've got all these followers and endorsements. So like, it's not a jealousy thing. It's just like, you know, I just don't really connect with that the way that I would probably with somebody else getting married.
Okay, but Grant, may I pose this question?
Sure.
Who do you feel you relate to on any of these Bravo shows? No one. This is decadence. This is something that, like, it takes you out of reality. But
the difference is this show is selling us on this wait staff. These are people who work at this restaurant.
Oh, I see. Well, that's been long gone for seasons, and you know.
Well, that's what I wish they would just acknowledge. Just
you're
say,
right.
like, hey,
True.
like, you know what? Like, these guys, everyone's making money. They're all buying homes, and they're not buying it off of, like, a host salary.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a legit, like, the show is their platform. Like, just, I don't want to keep being sold to. And that's what it is. Because that's the difference. Now, something like Beverly Hills Housewives, as poor as the season has been, like.
Oh, it's been awful.
Thank you.
We can go into that if you want. No, for another episode.
Too negative. But, too dark. But, like, I get it. Like, those lifestyles are, like, I don't expect to relate to those, but, like, those are lifestyles. That's what the show is about.
So I think what they're doing next season is they're going to kind of, so as you know, James is, what's his bun's girlfriend? She now works at SUR.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like they're bringing like the old class and the new class together, you know, like they have to bring it back to the restaurant where they all started. So that's going to be, I think, a storyline. They're bringing new cast members into film, and then you have the old group. And I think we'll figure out how that format
that's a good
works
idea.
now at that point. Yeah.
I think that's what they have to do. And James and Raquel, they are not in Kentucky, according to, I watched both their stories.
They were not invited.
Okay, well, then there's some news for anyone who cares.
I mean, I don't know. I can't confirm nor deny. I don't think they would go.
I mean, I wouldn't give him an invitation for what he said, so sure.
Yeah.
Let's transition to The Real Housewives of New York.
I can't wait.
Season 11 is coming to a close.
I know, it's awful.
Mean, like, I have so much room in my life for more shows.
Can I ask you a question? I've been hearing rumblings. So, you know, all Emmy nominations in Los Angeles is coming up soon. Now, all these things are called for your considerations.
Yes.
I'm confused. Were they nominated for an Emmy or not? Or is this just like a push, like a grassroots push to get them nominated because they should be? The show's insanely amazing.
Know, I have this as a topic here. I want to discuss this because I've done so much research. I couldn't find out if they are really nominated or if they are being submitted, because I know the nominations, the formal nominations, have not been like revealed yet.
No.
But I think that they were on a list. Now, I saw only one screen grab on Twitter that featured The Real Housewives of New York City, Bravo. But I have not been able to find that in print or anywhere else.
Okay.
So I'm going to go on the side of no, because I feel like that would get picked up on reality T, and, you know, people would at least be keeping an eye on it. For those who aren't familiar, like, we know how people perceive these shows, but like from a producer's standpoint,
golden.
I think this season is a solid A. I'm not going to say A+, A-, it's an A. I loved it.
It's amazing. The casting is perfect. It's like that perfect mix right now. And it was a beautiful season, unlike some of the other, you know, franchises and other cities that we don't need to get into because this isn't the time.
Oh, just say it.
But Atlanta, I think, was weak. Beverly Hills was awful.
Unwatchable.
Like the unwatchable.
Yeah.
Teddy and Kyle, I can't. I literally, I don't want to watch the show anymore. And I've been a huge Bravo fan since the first episode of Orange County came out.
Yep.
When I was at my parents' house, still living at my parents' house.
That's how I watched it.
You know, so it's really, you know.
It's a shame because I say, I hold the show to a high standard. People have heard me say this a million times, but yes, I think that I give Beverly Hills, even though it's not complete, an incomplete. I'm not even giving it an F grade because it's just the season should have just never happened. I mean, they weren't prepared. The story production's terrible. The casting is awful, and they need to recast the entire show. Maybe keep Dorit, because I think she plays like a great
perfection this season.
She plays a great role as, like, does she have money? Does she not? Is she the lifestyle? Like, she's interesting. The rest of them treat it like a gig. Well, it's just a gig, you know? It's like the same way they have a book, a clothing line, they do a reality show. It's like they don't need it.
Right. And I actually love Denise Richards as part of it. I watched her show when it was on E, and I think she's been a great addition. She's just kind of like, I don't care. I don't know what you crazy ladies are talking about. It's been a nice...
I'm not really watching, to be honest with you. I keep up with it, but I through clips and watch what happens live. I had to eliminate the show because it was just getting me too upset.
Yeah. But RHONY, I mean, gosh.
And that's what I mean. This gives me my fix, and it's like... I mean, I will clear the schedule to watch New York. So that it's all good. You know, I mean, it all works out. So now this reunion's coming up. This is going to be Lou's first reunion in like 2 years, right?
Oh, that's right.
She blew up the other.
She was in rehab the first time.
She was in rehab.
And then,
she didn't blow it off.
Right.
One could say she did, but she was in rehab again.
Her short-lived rehab.
Yeah.
So we've heard, of course. But
you know, so now she admits in some preview clips that she overreacted in the Berkshires about the fish room and wanting the hotel and all the services. And you know, you're nodding, so I think you agree.
Yeah, she's been a little too high on her britches this season, but isn't that the point? I mean, since day one, I've always like loved her. I think she's just been like just extra, you know,
Very
but in a
extra.
good way. And I think it's fun. I don't really mind it, how she's just been crazy this season, and like her cabaret show. It's just that's fun for me to watch.
Really? See, I'm burned out by the cabaret.
I mean,
I'm really over it.
I could understand that. I don't want to see cabaret performances all the time.
Right.
I understand that, but I think her attitude is fun because she's being successful on her own, which is really empowering for, you know, I mean, anyway, but I don't mind it.
I had sat through the show twice, and so I'm like, that was way too much for me. I did not enjoy it.
You went to the cabaret?
Yeah. And to the early version and the most recent version.
Okay.
And I didn't hate it, but it was like, to me, it wasn't really a cabaret. I mean, it was a clip show of her for a good portion of it. I mean, it was, you know, she's got about 3 songs. No, really, they played clips of her best moments on What Happens Live in New York. And
how did they get the rights and releases and clearances for those clips?
It was a very long. They must have some cut. Bravo has to have a cut of this because they've given her so much damn airtime.
Right.
And like again, like, you know, she squeezed in the cabaret at least twice this season, and we had to see the Christmas show, and like, so I'm like, for me, like, I know what it's all about. I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm happy for her, but like, I don't need to. Like, I don't blame the women when they're like, what else can we do other than go and see it?
Well, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, we live in Los Angeles. How many like comedians and performers do we know where they're like, oh, do you want to come to my comedy show? And it's like, okay, I'll come once,
right?
But I can't be like an audience plant all the time. So you get, you know, like butts and seats, and like I love you, but I literally can't do that all the time.
Yeah.
So I do understand where the girls are coming from, and like, we're done with your cabaret.
It's the same jokes too. I mean, when I saw the second time, it was a little different, but the same humor. And I knew the punchlines, and I only saw the show once before, so I can imagine if there's someone like Barbara Kay, who I actually really enjoy. I know she's like, people don't really care for her.
I don't mind her.
I like Barbara, but I mean, poor Barbara, she's had to sit through that. You know, more than a couple times.
Yeah. Well, she mentioned that in the last episode where she's like, she's not even a good singer. It's like, Barbara, you're mic'd.
Yeah.
Come on.
But God bless you. God bless you for speaking the truth, shaming the devil. But Lou has told Page Six that she's been keeping a diary, and this is a part of the cabaret, actually, and that she's been sober for 8 months. Arguably, some other reports have said maybe not. So we'll say alleged. And she has many things. She said that there's many things that have been written about her, but none of it's true. And she's going to set the record straight in this new book.
Can't wait.
So she's looking for a publisher. She's considering offers, which is always nice to say. Who knows what's really happening?
I mean, do people want to read books anymore? I mean, literally, like, I'm a very old millennial, but like, do they want to read books, or should she do like a docu-series?
Well, that's a good question.
She should just do a docuseries.
I mean,
she should have been not writing. She should have been filming all this, like Kanye.
Yeah.
He has a full-time videographer with him at all times, because you know he's going to create this crazy documentary at some point. Lou should have done that instead.
Yeah, a diary is a little old school, Lou. I mean, you know,
get with the time.
Well, although Andy Cohen found a lot of success doing that, you know, I'm sure he didn't have to really take many offers for a publisher. He probably had that all set up. So, you know, Lou, I don't know what to tell you, but I would listen to it on audiobook.
She'd have to read it, though, of course. Yes,
I would listen to it just for the show and for my own curiosity. I'd be curious to know what the spin is like. But we all remember Class with the Countess, the original book. How to Live with Elegance and Flair. Now, that came out in 2009. So she's 10 years overdue for another book.
She can probably go back to the same publisher. I'm sure she'll be fine.
Yeah. And you know what? At the end of the day, it makes a lot of sense because she can add it to her merch table. We saw it on the show previously.
She has her statement necklaces. She has her candles, and now her book.
And now her book, yes. I'm surprised that Class with the Countess isn't there as well. Add it to the table.
You're right. It should be there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that she definitely will get a publisher because people are interested. People have asked me as well, do you think that her future on the show is in jeopardy? I think she's one of the biggest assets they have.
I do not think so, because literally all storylines have been around her. And then they, like, when it's not about her, they try to, like, poke at Tinsley or poke at Barbara, and it's, like, so far-fetched and nonsense.
Yeah.
You're like, this isn't, like, just stop trying to make storylines happen. And I should say the same to Kyle, too, from
I like a little shade their way.
Shade.
Never
a lot
hurts.
of shade.
Good for you.
Jesus.
I like that. All right, I got to take a minute, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about our first impressions of The Hills, New Beginnings.
Ooh.
And then we're going to talk more with Amanda. That and more. Now this.
You're listening to Grant's Rants. Subscribe and spread the word. There are a lot more rants to come. Listen anytime on all major podcasting platforms. And now, back to the show.
And we're back on the Rants with Amanda Szot.
Hello.
Welcome back. And I want to briefly mention that, if you're enjoying the podcast and you don't like Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk on Facebook yet, please do, because that's the first place the show is posted, and I post things throughout. So that'd be really cool. I'm trying to reach a certain number over there, and, all that stuff is important to somebody. So, I would appreciate it, and I don't post that much, so y'all won't be. I'm not clogging up anyone's, like, timelines or anything like that, but it's a cool place to talk to other people who are listening to the podcast as well. So
I like your Facebook
would
page.
love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would love it. Grant's Rants Hollywood Talk. That's all I need. Let's talk about The Hills, New Beginnings on MTV. I will admit right here, I was not a fan of the original. My sister watched it, and to me, I thought it was very fake and scripted before it was outed as being fake and scripted. And so I just didn't care about, like, these really highly privileged, like, 20-somethings in Hollywood at the time. I know that it's highly influential to our generation, so I gave it a shot.
And
I'm enjoying it.
I'm so enjoying it as well.
I'm not going to sit here and be like, it's awful. That's the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It's not. I mean, the show is superbly shot. And it always looked good. But I mean, the slow shots of the truck lowering down,
right,
and then the beach scenes, and, like, very well shot. I imagine there's, like, a full crew.
Right. And it's like, it's you can tell that there is a reality obviously involved, but it is scripted, part scripted and part reality. So what I really liked those staged moments, if you will, where, you see Audrina looking off into the distance as, the flatbed goes down.
Yes.
But then at a certain point in the show, I was like, I'm done with this. Like, just get into the content and move it along. I don't need Heidi, like, walking up slow motion with, like, a tilt shot up to her face. And it's just like, okay, I get it.
For me, the Heidi bath moment was a little long.
The bath.
Like, we saw her take, like, a whole from drying and everything. And I was like, okay, like, that was interesting.
Yeah, titillating, but,
I will say it was actually very UK. I think it was very UK TV. They spend their time with things like that.
Right. It was very. They're taking some notes from the classics over across the pond.
Yeah. Speaking of across the pond, I really enjoyed Heidi and Spencer on Celebrity Big Brother UK. No longer around. Sad. Loved that show. Please bring it back. But I watched for Heidi and Spencer because I enjoy them. They're just classic, what stirrers.
Yeah.
And I enjoy them. And then Misha Barton, I watched for her just to see what she was going to have to say for herself. We don't really hear from her. We hear a lot about her, or we did, and, like, what she felt to face the earth. I talked about her, like, 2 years ago on this show about she had some West Hollywood scandal where she was outside, neighbor, no shoes.
Who knows?
Yeah. But, hopefully she's, like, back. She looks healthy.
Mm-hmm. She seems sane.
Yeah.
But we didn't get into her, like, personal story yet. So, like, we did get to her personal story, but, like, I want to see at her house. I want to see her getting ready. I want to know who's in her crew. Like, we went to Heidi and Spencer's house. We went to Audrina's house. Like, I want to see her at her house now to, like, get the full essence of who she is, to really get it started.
The whole first episode was too much Audrina for me. I don't care about her and Justin. Again, I didn't watch the original, so to me, I don't have that history with them.
Oh, well, Justin Bobby.
I don't have that history.
Are you not attracted to him?
No, not at all.
Something about him, and I can see where Audrina is just, like, constantly just, like swooped
he needs
up
a haircut.
in him.
He needs a haircut. I know people.
God, he's so beautiful. There's just something about him. Like, I remember just, like, falling in love with him when I would watch the original Hills and seeing their relationship. I was like, they're going to end up together. It's just like, it's going to happen. So now I feel the same way. They have to end up with each other.
Well, they're definitely painting it that way.
Bookend it,
yes. A big theme of the show is parenting, which, I couldn't care less about. But, it's interesting. I actually actually enjoy this version. I put this on Twitter better because these are adult people dealing with adult lifestyles, where in the past it was like, okay, so Whitney got this internship. Like, I'm sure she really applied and went through the interview process. Like, I just resisted all that Hollywood BS. But now, like, real life is at their door, and they're dealing with it, and their parents and the, Brody's dealing with the reality of being married and all this. So, like, okay, like, this is like more real, I guess. I can't say it's real, but it's more real. Is that fair?
No, I love it. I loved when one of the first scenes when all the girls came together. So you had Whitney, Audrina, and Heidi. They were all together talking about like being a mom, and I really liked that because I'm not a mom yet, but we were talking about being like more relatable. And it's not relatable yet, but they're not like partying again because they have kids and they can't go out and just do whatever they want like they used to. It's now the next stage.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And
you know what
I can't wait to see.
They've lived life. Audrina had the baby. It wasn't the right match, but she ended up getting married. Like, things went down. So they've lived a little bit. It's not all like glitz, glam, privilege, like everything. Like, they have had a little bit of life under their belt at this point. Now, Vulture did a recap, and I wanted to get kind of their point of view on the show. And they kind of kept saying it's like looking backwards. It's not like new beginning, because they said it's like looking at the past. And I don't know if I totally agree with it. The old feud with Perez, they made Perez Hilton a character we haven't seen yet, but like that kind of like is a throwback for me, but he was really relevant when this show was hot.
Right. I think, okay, so here's how all first episodes are, though. They're basically like, if you've had something where it's a past, like, it has to be a recap episode. You have to see where they've come from.
That's true.
You have to see kind of like where you left off and like kind of an introduction of where they are now.
You need to be brought up to speed.
Yeah, I don't envision any of the next episodes to be like that at all. I think it's going to be relevant to like what's currently happening, interpersonal dynamics of like the new group, if you will. I don't know how Misha Barton's going to be involved because I don't know. She said they all hung, like Stephanie mentioned, they were all pals back in the day, but I just don't know if that's true.
They'll work her in. But that's the new beginnings aspect. This is why I don't totally agree with Vulture here, because Stephanie Pratt, who I really don't know anything about, I know she was on Made in Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one, Misha, they're the new beginnings, because they're like, Misha's always like, the Lindsay Lohan story, always a new day in her life. And then, the Stephanie coming over back to the U.S., trying to reconnect with her nephew and all that, or meet her nephew. She was really upset, though. Apparently they cut something. They cut a scene. And she was really crying and hysterical on social media, where it was like she was addressing the fact that they announced, Heidi and Spencer announced the birth of their child or the name of their child on her birthday to detract from her special day.
Stephanie, shut up.
And
you're not.
It's like, how old are these people?
I mean, it's your birthday. Calm down. You're like over 30 years old. Who cares about birthdays anymore? That's just my personal opinion. Like,
I don't know. I think the scene that they cut was her like working that out with them, but we haven't seen them interact yet. So I don't know what she's all worried about. But I'm here for Misha. I'm going to watch.
I'm here
what
for
she's
Brandon.
Doing.
Brandon Lee.
That?
That's
that
Tommy
one.
Lee and Pamela Anderson's son.
Yeah.
It's like Justin Bobby. Like, he draws me in because I want to know more about his personal life. We saw him at home. We saw Pamela come over.
Yes.
I want to know more about the inner workings of like how he was raised. And like, it seems
there's
like
a lot to tap into.
It seems like, he might be a partier, but I want to see how he grew up such a wild life, I'm sure. I want to see what kind of person he is and then how he relates to everyone. And I want to see hookups. Like, are there going to be hookups?
I believe so. I mean, that guy will.
I have to
he
see
will.
all
Brandon
of
Lee
this.
will. The production company is Evolution. And they produce Orange County and Beverly Hills. I have high hopes for this show. I think I'm going to keep watching, believe it or not. And hopefully that if they can really produce this show well, they'll bring those producers over to Beverly Hills. Please save that show or just kill it.
Bring Marcia Hermer back in. So she was on Ladies of London. R.I.P. That show is insanely amazing. I love it. She now lives in Palisades. She opened a restaurant with her husband. Bring her on. Like, do a little crossover. You need
the Bravo audience knows who she is.
Yeah, you have to re-energize the cast, and that's my suggestion.
Yeah.
So
it's tough when you have and I mentioned this earlier, but when you have a whole cast full of people who treat it like a gig,
Right.
It's like, that's okay for one or two, but if you go down the list, Everyone except Dorit is using that show as just a platform for their businesses.
Dorit is too.
Yes, but Dorit needs the show to be relevant. The others don't need the show to be relevant. That's my argument there.
No, have you heard this? I didn't read the full article, but I saw a headline where it was basically Bravo is now any like new housewife that comes in. It's kind of like an American Idol type situation where they'll get a cut of anything that they sell on. So like if I'm now putting a new hat line when I'm a Housewives, they'll get a cut.
That's the Bethany clause. They've had that for a while. Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, if you're going to show Erica Jane on tour and you're giving her a platform, and
you better get some of that money, honey.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Because, they lost out on all the Bethany Skinny Girl stuff.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's transition a little bit because, we know each other through the podcast world.
Yes.
I was a guest on the former podcast Reality Rundown.
Yep.
And it concluded last year, right?
It did. Unfortunately, we had such a fun run. Basically, it's called the Reality Rundown. It was the tagline of your BTS hookup on all things reality. So what we did was bring in producers of the show to kind of get that behind the scenes feel of like the inner workings of how these shows get made, right? So it was really interesting and fun. And we also had Housewives on. And it was really fun, but my co-hosts, I should say, one of them, he got a job actually working in reality television. So obviously it wasn't appropriate, and we wanted to make sure we ended on a great note. And our last episode is Kelly Ben-Simone. So it was really fun, and it was such a fun time. So if you want to listen to some great past episodes, it's called The Reality Rundown.
And I'm on there if you want to hear mine.
He is. He joined us one time.
I think twice, actually.
Twice. Yeah. Oh, you did join us twice. You're right.
Yeah, we've had Matt and Paul on this podcast, too. I haven't talked to them in a minute either, though. It seems like you've kind of all gone in different directions, including yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So I used to be a TV producer, and I worked at and on live television shows and a lot of red carpets. And now I've segued into kind of, I'm a creative producer now at Stand Up to Cancer, which is fabulous. It's great to work in the nonprofit field, and we have a lot of major donors. We make PSAs for them, public service announcements for them. So I produce a lot of those. And then our telecast is every other year. We have a roadblock where we have huge A-list celebrities, and we produce an hour of content on literally every single network, like 70 some networks and all the big ones, and streaming and Netflix and all of those, and it airs the telecast at the same time. So you can't turn on any channel without seeing the telecast, which is really amazing. And we share patient stories and, what our research does, because that's where we fund for research. We fund for new treatments and breakthrough therapies and things like that. So we're making a difference, and we get FDA approvals. And so it's really a big deal.
That's great.
Yeah. We're getting into a lot of fun stuff. So it's great to be, outside of the TV world and, into a place that really loves and supports you.
Yeah. And you're doing so. I know what you mean. And you're doing something that is meaningful too.
I mean, I know. I hope to never leave that job. It's great. It's amazing. I love helping people and being part of something bigger, while also creating really fun content, that gets the word out and awareness out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, part of the Hollywood talk of it all is, navigating this business. I mean, how did you come to that conclusion where, you were at E for a while and you were on a lot of big carpets, and then just making that transition?
I could not work freelance anymore. I did it for 7 years in Los Angeles. I used to be in advertising. Before I moved to Los Angeles, I was a copywriter and then got into the TV world. It's crazy. It's nonsense. No one cares about you. It's just the absolute worst. And then I was like, I want something more meaningful. And so that's when I made the decision. It took a while to get back into like the staff full-time position, but it can happen. You can do it. And I just love it.
That's great. Yeah. And you've got a wedding coming up. So congratulations.
Yeah, that too. Thank you.
That's a lot.
I am not a bridezilla.
So it's more low key?
It's super low key. Good. I'm not like caring about what people in I don't even want a wedding party, but I like want people to be up there with me and then they go sit down, so they're not even going to stand up there with me, but they can wear whatever they want. I don't care. The venue, we're having it at the Madonna Inn. So it's up in San Luis Obispo. It's like an adults Disneyland. I don't know if you've ever been.
No.
Every room's different. So it's the most chicy, like crap room you've ever seen. Like glitter sequins on the walls, pink shag carpeting. Every room's a different theme.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool and fun, but they're
so
handling.
You can pick your vibe. Is that what it is? Like you just kind of go with what you feel.
And my vibe is sequins, pink sequins, of course.
Well, it'll look good for the gram. You know what I mean? Like it'll photograph really well.
Yeah. So it'll be really fun, but it's just chill. I don't listen, we're delivering major campaigns, in the next couple, basically early next week. And I just can't be bothered. I don't want to deal with it. I don't I do this for a living, coordinating events and big things. And I just don't want to do it for my personal life because it's just annoying. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it's like what you do all day. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So. Well, congratulations.
Thanks, Grant.
Yeah. And we'll have you back, of course, to talk about more stuff.
Thank you. This is what I wanted to say. I need an outlet. Okay. Because we haven't done our podcast in about a year, and I have all these feelings when Potomac's out and when Atlanta's out and Beverly Hills and Teddy and I need to talk.
Please.
So please have me back, and I need to get this all off my chest because my fiance could care less. I have no one to talk to about it, and no one at work listens, basically. So I need an outlet.
This is it. So thank you very much, and we'll have you for more. Yeah, I'm so glad we did this.
Thank you.
And as always, there'll be more podcasts to come. Like I said, all new episodes. So I love you for listening, and as always, we'll be back with more rants.
This has been Grant's Rants. Support the Rants on Patreon at patreon.com/Grant's Rants. Follow Grant on Twitter and Instagram at It's Grant's Rants. Cover art created by RHONY. Voiceover by Original theme music by Alexander Arntzen. The Grant Michael Collection.